Look what she made me do.
Hey. Ed?
Look what she made me do!
Ed!
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And today we are talking about 2013's The Conjuring, which I have a lot of feelings about this movie. What about y'all?
I had less feelings than I thought I would. But I did feel the feeling of fear many, many, many times. It's really spooky.
Here's how I felt. We watched it with our OG Spooky crew on Tuesday for our weekly movie night. And I would say for the first 20-25 minutes, I was not okay. Absolutely just not well. I think the scary clappy hands not chill for me. But then there came a point where we started to really see the ghosts, and after that point I was like, oh, I'm fine, the scariness has gone, which was good because that 25 minutes of terror was not sustainable. And I really was not, I would not have, I don't know if I wouldn't literally have bailed on you guys, but I might have. Because I think when we were in the group setting, it was okay, but I was getting to a point where I was enough. But then it chilled out, and then rewatching it so I could take my notes because I hadn't seen it before, so I just wanted to experience it, let it wash over me, especially because I knew it was supposed to be legit scary. And so I didn't want to
be that for your first view.
Yeah, I didn't want to be so distracted trying to capture everything. But I went back and I rewatched it this morning and early in the morning. And I didn't remember why it was so scary in the beginning, but there was still one moment that made me gasp. So I still experienced a spook. And I liked it. I think when we watched it the other day, and it went from so unbelievably terrifying to I lost my spooky is what it was. It wasn't that it the movie got less scary. It was somehow the mood got broken for me. And I think maybe it was all the religion stuff because I was just no. But I had a better more even experience the second time, I think, with a good jump in there.
Yeah, I feel you.
And
you go, Sydney.
So for anybody that hasn't seen this movie, The Conjuring is about paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren work to help a family terrorized by a dark presence in their farmhouse. And it's set in the 70s, and it's supposedly based on a true story, which I was Googling more about the true story, and the farmhouse still exists. And in 2020, they did a week-long live stream.
How did we miss this?
I have no idea. The Conjuring just was not on our radar at this point, I guess.
Damn.
But the first day was free, and then you could either pay $5 a day to watch them do all these spooky paranormal activity, or $20 for the whole week, and all of the money went to a COVID charity relief. So I thought that was kind of a nice tie-in.
Spookiness with a conscience. We love that.
Exactly. But I also think we have to talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren because they are such a huge part of this movie. And also, this movie just sets up a giant Ed and Lorraine Warren franchise, basically.
The Conjuring Cinematic Universe.
Okay, because here's the thing. When we set up the Conjuring last week, you guys were like, and this opens the door to Annabelle, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, how does it open the door to Annabelle? And you guys were both like, I don't know. Don't remember. We'll find out. Opening shot of this movie, Annabelle. So found that out right away.
Yeah.
I do have, like, Vera Farmiga and what's his name, Patrick Wilson. They're only in
Yeah.
the two like Conjuring movies, right? They're not in the larger Conjuring. Like it's not like how I was gonna say something about Marvel, but there's no one who's in all of them. But like the Annabelle movies are just about like is that I guess Annabelle creation presumably is the creation of Annabelle, so that would predate the what's their name? The Warrens'
The
involvement.
Warren family. Yes.
Names are not sticking in my head this morning.
Oh no, it's okay. The Conjuring movies like set the scene, right? So like
Okay.
they introduced us to a lot of different spooky characters throughout the films.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure the second Conjuring movie, so the first Conjuring movie that gives you Annabelle. And so from that the first Annabelle movie came out. I don't remember what it was called. Maybe it was just called Annabelle, which would have been a great name.
I think it was.
So that one is just about, I think that one takes place in like modern day. I've seen it, but like a long time ago. And so it's like the Annabelle doll wreaking havoc, whatever. The second one is Annabelle Creation, which I've brought up like 15,000 times on this podcast, and I can't wait until we go over it on the pod, because it is, if you couldn't handle the first 20 minutes of this movie, which I don't blame you, because it's fucking like terrifying the first 20 minutes, like it's a nonstop horror show, like the pulling of the feet, we'll get into that, but like absolutely not. Annabelle Creation, like maybe it starts off slow a little bit, you know, like easing you into it. Like any horror film, it's usually not just like you die immediately. This one is like maybe like 15 minutes of like we're introducing the characters, and then it's just like horror show nonstop all the way for the rest of the freaking hour and a half. It's terrifying. And then there's a third one. I don't know if it's come out yet. Is that true? Is there a third Annabelle movie?
It was supposed to come out September 2020. Oh, sorry. There is a third Annabelle movie.
Annabelle Come Home.
Yeah, Annabelle Comes Home is the third one. And the third Conjuring movie is tentatively set for this June 2021 after being postponed already from September 2020.
Yeah.
So who knows when that will be.
And so the second,
but there's also The Nun
movie,
and The Curse of La Llorona, or Llorona.
La
haven't taken Spanish in so long. I
La
apologize.
Llorona. It's a double L. It makes the Y sound. But yeah, in the second one, I'm pretty sure The Nun, I haven't seen the second one in like a bajillion years. The Nun and La Llorona, I think, are brought up in the second one. Though I don't remember La Llorona as much. The Nun is a much bigger part of the story. Oh no, I remember La Llorona from it. Anyway, I saw half of The Nun, which has Vera Farmiga's little sister in it. What's her name? Other sister. Tessa Farmiga. And I turned it off halfway through, so we can cover that one too, but it wasn't for me. But yeah, so I like what they do with this. I like that they introduce these spooky characters and then they go back and they give you the backstory, because like these are like demonic fucking things that have existed for hundreds of years. That's why they're so evil. They've been practicing for like millennia. And so I like that it's not all just about Ed and Lorraine, because though I love them and though they're both hot, they are my least favorite part of this movie.
They are both hot. I will say that. Vera Farmiga especially is like a goddess come to life. And I think there's one moment at the end of the film during the climax where she and her husband are both like compelling the demons to get out, basically. But she like puts her hand on somebody's head and it's like the light is shining upon them, and I was just like, I also feel like light would be shining upon me if I were to be touched by Vera Farmiga and given her full attention. You know what I mean? That's what it would feel like, I think.
100%. I mean, besides the fact that she's just absolutely stunning, something about her voice is very soothing as well. And her soulful eyes, I'm like look into my eyes and like take me away. She
And I
also
don't
is.
know why. Because I get like full crazy vibes from her. No offense to her as a person, but I watched her in Bates Motel, in which obviously she plays Norman Bates's mom. And some of the time when she is playing Norman Bates's mom, it's after Norma. Her name is Norma and his name is Norman. First of all, that's fucked up. But anyway, it's after the real Norma Bates has already died. And so it's like she's the imagination of him as his mom. And so she's like really fucked up at that point. And so I have these like very scary associations with her, but she is just so appealing to me. She just like is a warm ray of sunshine.
It's because in this movie she is the queen of fancy collars, and her beautiful
The
collars guide
blue
you back home.
blouse. Yes, the blouse she wears when they give the lecture in Massachusetts. It's like, I don't know what you would call things, but I would call it like some kind of accordion blouse where it goes all the way
It's
up
like
and
a
around with
ruffle.
the ruffle. God, it's delicious.
It's very Tudor-esque.
She looks
I loved the
perfect.
fashion in this. Like that was a really fun part. Like I'm obsessed with the 70s, like and all the 70s aesthetic. So the fact that this was set in the 70s, like, is one of the reasons why I liked it a little bit more. Even though this isn't one of my faves, I was like, all right, I can live in this time and look at Drew and his cute little 70s outfit forever.
Drew is so cute. I will say the Perron family not delivering on the fashion other than the 90s. Love the 90s for
90 Game
them.
Strong.
Oh, the quilted robes,
Yeah,
amazing.
okay. I do need a robe made out of a quilt. That did look incredible to me. So cozy.
So cozy. Okay, I will say though, some of their daytime outfits were pretty cute. Like Nancy had a really cute 70s looking outfit, and I loved that for her. And the mom, what's the mom's name?
Carolyn?
Carolyn. Carolyn had that super fly, like a bunch of, it was a striped like rainbow but mostly red colored skirt that she wore on the day that she gets barfed in the mouth from a demon, that day. Oh
Ugh,
no,
ugh,
not that day, not that day, the day that she plays
It was the
the
day they
clap
were
game,
playing hide
the
and clap.
hide and clap with
April.
just April, which is a horrible day as well. There's a lot of bad days for these poor people. Oh my god.
not just April, as it turns out. Okay,
Yes,
here's the thing
true.
about this though. I'm gonna bring in a little reality for a second because right before we started recording, I was reading an interview with the real Andrea and Cindy about their experience living in the house. They lived there for like 10 years, and that is
Yeah.
just incomprehensible to me
Ugh.
because this movie takes place over the course of like maybe a month. I don't know. They don't really give firm dates at all. Or maybe they do, and I wasn't like fully paying attention. I know when they do the first interview, he's like, it's November 1st, 1971, or something like that. So they give a date at one point, but it's like the time passing is not, I don't think, particularly well marked in this movie. Because it's like,
It's
Yeah, the
not 10
pacing is a
years
little
though.
off.
it's definitely not 10 years, and then at the end they're like, we're healed, which is hilarious. But in the context of the movie, it's like the dad is like, I've got to go away to Florida and then back for a week because he's a trucker. And then that night something spooky happens, but then he's gone presumably on his way to Florida. But then 5 minutes later he's back again, and it's like, how many nights are passing here? We're just like not given a clear indication of the
I
timeline.
think that was a week. That was weird timing though. He like got back just in time to save his entire
Yeah.
family. And
You're telling me these ghosts waited for him to be on his way home? Like, he was clearly not the subject of the haunting, so why would they plan around his schedule?
Right? Seems fishy.
just a little bit of luck for the girls for once.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So we've talked about Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. The other people in this cast is absolutely stacked. I completely forgot about it. You
Seriously.
have Lily Taylor,
Uh-huh.
who plays Carolyn, the mom. You have baby Joey King, and then
Baby
you
Joey
have
King.
the
Wait.
woman, the myth, the legend, baby Renesmee Cullen.
Mackenzie Foy. So Joey King plays Christine, which I'm just finding out now after watching this movie twice. Because in my mind, I was like, it's Joey King. Oh no, Joey King. What's happening to Joey King? And then Mackenzie Foy is Renesmee, and also in this film, Cindy.
Yes, I will say when we watched the movie for the first time the other day, I really had a lot of trouble keeping track of how many children there were, and I was sure that there were 6, and I was like, one of them is named Joey, and then at one point I was like, okay, which one is Joey? And you guys were like, no, that's just Joey King.
I was like, no, I was just calling her
Yeah.
Joey King.
But so I was much more aware and on my game this time, keeping track of who is named what and where they belong in the lineup of the family.
Yeah, there's 5 daughters.
5
Too
daughters.
many.
So
I know.
many kids.
Don't you want 5, Sydney?
Well, my mom is one of 5, and in that time period, that was normal. That was common. You got to have somebody to still work your farm, even in the 70s.
I think in real life they lived on a 200-acre farm. Like, it was like a huge amount of land. Although I don't think they were trying to farm. I think they were just like beautiful land in the countryside. Or would you call Rhode Island the countryside?
Rhode Island definitely has a countryside.
I
It's
would believe
beautiful
anything
in the
about
film,
Rhode
at
Island.
least, like, gorgeous.
I have absolutely zero knowledge about
every
Rhode Island.
every state technically has countryside. So
It's just a field.
We are all in a country, and there are sides to every state.
See?
There you go.
Countryside.
That's it.
Fair
But yeah,
enough.
I mean, why wouldn't they want to live at that house, like, just from looking at it? I mean, they don't get the full
Stunning.
200 acres anymore because it's been, like, broken up. They talk about that at one point during the movie. But, like, this place where they're at, they have that gorgeous tree that happens to be a tree where someone is hung, which is terrible news. But it's a beautiful tree in the front
Unlucky.
yard. Unlucky. You don't know that from looking at it. And the house is beautiful. So many rooms, gorgeous. And there's a freaking, what is that, a river or a lake right there in their front yard? There's a freaking
It looks
lake
like a little pond,
or a
yeah.
little pond. It's beautiful. That's amazing. You could get a little boat. You could go out on the little boat. You could fish. Amazing. Swimming. You could get a tire swing, jump off the tire swing into the lake. Wow. I was planning a vacation when I saw that lake.
I said it in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken that house was my dream house, but now this house is also my dream house, and I'm wondering if I just want to live in an old, spooky, haunted house.
Here's the thing. The house itself, from the outside, yes, beautiful. It's the property that's really interesting. So if you could pick up the haunted house with its secret tunnel from The Ghost and Mr. Chicken and put it on this land, I think that's the real compromise. Like, that's what's of interest here.
Yes, I'm down for
sounds like
that.
a really good idea.
I will say I saw that piano in that basement and I was like, I bet they've got to have some Bonami on hand to clean that baby up.
Oh man. And okay, so also we were talking about how they have an insane amount of children, and I was like, why would they have so many children? There's so many, and we can't even count them. And the reason why they have so many is because they bone all the time, and that was very clear in this film.
I missed it the first time how horny they are for each other, but the second watch I got it because they're like, are you too tired to christen the new house before we go to bed? And then the next day when she wakes up with her first of many mysterious bruises, she's like, what'd you do to me last night? Like, clearly there is some freakiness happening in this house.
They are kinky and they do not have contraceptives.
But they're not religious, which was why I was like, what's going on here? Like, break it down. You don't need to keep having babies to keep fucking all the time.
Maybe they're trying for a boy.
Ooh.
Might not be in the cards after 5.
Yeah, I think after you get to 5, maybe you give up. But I would not get to 5. So who can say?
No.
So my mom is one of 5, and she's the 4th of 5, and she has a twin brother who is the youngest of all of them. So that 5th one was a boy.
They were like, we can stop after that.
Exactly.
I like kind of get itchy all over when I think about having 5 kids. Like I think I might be breaking into hives right now. Gotta go get
I
some.
don't. As somebody who wants
ointment.
a large family, because I fully believe the world needs more of me. So I gotta
And I
rethink
am
it.
so happy for you, and I will come visit your 12 children, but I cannot imagine having to be responsible for that many human lives depending on me forever. Like
Forever.
it's too much, and I am too lazy for that. How are you? Oh my god, thank you so much to do all of the time. I need to move on because actually
Chelsea
this
is
upsets
freaking
me.
out. I can't wait to be the bad girl auntie to your kids.
I will be paying for a lot of therapy for my poor children. I'm just
Oh my
well
god.
aware of that.
Yes. Start saving now because you're gonna have so many kids, and nope. I still need to move on. Anyway, back to the movie.
They made their choices and
They made their choices. They've got 5 kids. They have to. Some of them have to share rooms. Like. Okay, I do have a question, which is, did Nancy and Christine, did they choose to share a room? Like, are they buddies? Like, are they the 2 buddies of the sisters?
It's probably divided by age. So the oldest one got her old room, and then the 2 next oldest shared a room, and then the 2 youngest kids shared a room.
I feel like we didn't really see Cindy and April sleeping much, unless it was when Cindy was sleepwalking so she could bonk her head in the other room. They kept that
yeah, we
mysterious.
never saw
Sleepwalking
them in their
again,
room.
still creepy.
Oh,
So
100%.
creepy.
Yeah, but
There was,
you
okay.
can't imagine that.
When we first watched this movie, I was like, this is very sinister, which we've covered and we've talked about, and also has a terrifying sleepwalking child, and also has them, like, well, Ethan Hawke knew what he was doing when he moved his family into that murder house, but the rest of the family did not know what they were getting into. And also, there's a lot of talk in that movie of, like, demons and the vessel and blah, 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 which is, like, a big plot point here, and also how Anna... Are you okay?
Yes, I just swallowed my coffee wrong. I thought I muted myself. Did I not?
You did, but it was,
Oh,
I
did not.
just thought I could see the life leaving your eyes, and I needed to check in on you.
We're like,
I'm
if she
still
dies
here.
on mute, we're gonna be so mad.
Oh,
If
yeah.
she
If I don't
dies
get the audio of her
mid-
dying.
yeah. If you're gonna die, at least do it on the record.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was my dramatic near-death experience. Interrupted you. Please continue.
It's just so rude. Like, commit to the bit or don't, Monica.
I won't do it again. I'll die for real next time.
Die for real, mic on. Okay, anyway. What was I saying? Does anybody remember?
Sinister and sleepwalking.
Yes, and
Ooh.
also, the vessel talk, because that comes in with Annabelle in the beginning, where they're like, you can't just destroy the vessel because blah blah blah. And that blah 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 is that, like, oh, it's never actually in the okay. First of all, I have a bone to pick with that, because it's like, maybe I just don't understand, but the doll, Annabelle, was never possessed by a ghost. It was just the conduit, but, like, what does that mean if they're still keeping Annabelle behind glass, like, in a little case, separate from everything else? Nobody touch her, especially Judy, who I suspect did touch her when she was hiding out in that little sneaky room. Like, Judy, you know you're not supposed to be in there.
Judy, why would you want to touch that doll? It looks creepy as shit. It looks terrible. Do you see its tiny little eyebrows? What is this, 2002? No.
Yes. And here's the
Judy
thing.
is Ed and Lorraine's tiny baby.
Yes, and she's so sweet, so cute, whatever, blah blah blah. And the thing is that the real Annabelle doll was like a Raggedy Ann doll, which is like a cloth doll, but they decided for movie purposes they were gonna make it spooky porcelain. But they made it the spookiest fucking porcelain doll that you've ever laid your eyes on. So, like, why would anybody ever see that doll and think that it was not haunted? You know what I mean? I feel like you're asking for trouble when you purchase a doll like that and then keep it in your home. But the doll itself was not possessed. It was just the conduit which I guess they mean to say that the dark spirit is still like attached to it. I don't know. I've got questions. We need to get Lorraine on here. Because she, I think, is still
She's
alive.
dead.
Oh, she was
She's
alive at
dead.
the time of the
She
movie,
died
and
in
she was like
2019.
Oh,
sad.
she just died.
Well, we'll have to
Yeah.
get
Pour one
Andrea
out. Pour one
Perone on here. Not that she would know about Annabelle necessarily.
No, but I
guess.
feel you.
Where's Judy? Get Judy. Wrap Judy up.
Get Judy. No, I'm confused too because like they made the whole deal with Annabelle that like it was actually a demon pretending to be a little baby girl trying to get into the doll. My thought maybe is that because they like let the doll like absorb any of this like whatever spooky energy, whatever, it's like now like more open to be a conduit for other demons, so maybe they exorcise that demon from it, but like other things couldn't use it as a portal to interact with the human world, maybe because it's been opened up to that. I feel like there's a lot of like if you open a door, the door is open forever things in this sort of demonology world. But my other question was they were talking about in the Annabelle part at the beginning, like, oh, ghosts usually aren't super mean or something. But all of the things that are attacking the Perron or Perron, I don't know how you say it, family, are supposedly ghosts. Like, because Bathsheba was a lady, but then I guess she did devote her heart to Satan. So did that turn her into a demon when she died? Like, I don't understand. There seems to be some missing pieces.
Well, she was a witch. Yeah, she was.
Okay.
I've got questions about the real world stuff going on here because I was reading that interview and like a lot of this is not necessarily exactly true because the Andrea and Cindy both said like there were a lot of nice ghosts that visited them as well, and there were like ghosts that took care of them, and there was like one ghost who like came and kissed Cindy's head before she went to sleep every night, and she thought it was her mom for a long time, which terrifying. But it was like a nice ghost who smelled like flowers, who like came and said goodnight. Like
I
that's
want one
nice,
of
I
those.
guess. But also in the movie, Bathsheba the witch was accused of witchcraft, had a baby at 7 days old. She sacrificed that baby to Satan, and then they hung her for witchcraft from the tree in the back.
She hung
In real life,
herself.
she hung
She hung
herself.
herself.
She hung
Excuse
herself
me.
and said, "I
Excuse
love
me.
Satan," and then hung herself.
Yeah, but
Satan, my guy.
in real life, she was like accused of witchcraft, but she was found innocent in a trial and she died like off the property. Yeah, this is per IMDb trivia at least, so who knows who anybody could have uploaded this. It's like Wikipedia. But it said the real Bathsheba Sherman was suspected of witchcraft and of killing an infant child, but her name was legally cleared after being found not guilty by a court of law. She died of natural causes in 1885, not by hanging as the movie portrayed. But then also, Andrea and Cindy in their interview are like, Bathsheba's curse. So they clearly still think that Bathsheba was like a evil witch, even though she was cleared of witchcraft and died not by hanging on the property. So like, they played a little fast and loose with the real spooky spirits that are apparently being brought to life in the movie, even though the Perron family is real and the Warren family is real, and like obviously a little creative license. But even Andrea was like, I don't think of this movie as fiction, I think of it as just like art. So I've got questions.
So I think in the movie, my takeaway from it is you have Bathsheba, which great name,
Incredible name.
amazing.
And we know it's a great
Incredible
witchy
name.
name because in The Witch, Bathsheba was the name of the actress who played the old witch.
Yes.
Damn.
And so
There's the through line.
you have the Bathsheba, who is the main witch, and she kills her baby, kills herself, and I think she becomes a demonic presence because she has sacrificed herself to Satan, and
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
she And so we see like Rory, one of the other ghosts in the house, who is a little boy who the youngest, what's her name?
April.
April. I keep wanting to call her Alice for some reason.
She looks
April
like an
and
Alice.
Rory become friends, and we later find out that Rory is the ghost that is causing Cindy to sleepwalk. And
which is like kind of rude because he's April's friend, and if he's trying to get Cindy to hide in this safe place where he used to hide when he was afraid, he's just like leaving April behind. He's just like, I actually don't like April that much. She's just the one that found my spooky circus box.
well, they
maybe
said
he can
Cindy
just access
sleepwalked.
her. Yeah, because she sleepwalks, so he can be in that weird liminal consciousness place where he can be like, I'm a spooky ghost, come to
I
me
just
to the
think
closet.
like bitches got no loyalty, you know.
But so we later learn that the witch Bathsheba is possessing the mothers, and they're killing their people. So like Rory's mom,
Lady Walker, I called her in my notes.
she kills Rory and then kills herself in the basement. And we randomly see a maid, which I don't know because she wasn't a mom, but she killed herself. And she's like, she made me do it. She made me do it. And so I think when Bathsheba killed herself, she becomes that dark energy demon that haunts all 200 acres of land that has been subsidized over time. And now she haunts all of the land, all of it. So you're fucked if you live on this 200 acres of land.
And if you even like come near the land with some kind of object she can latch onto, apparently it gets tricky because like she steals Lorraine's locket at some point that Judy gives her with her little Judy picture in it, and then all of a sudden she's at the Warrens' house spooking out Judy, brushing Annabelle's hair, which first of all, like, that is cursed.
Well, I mean, I don't know how this works at all, but like that also leads me to believe that thing with like the door of Annabelle being a conduit is open forever. So like it was easier for her to go to that space because it's got like hella demon shit in there. They have like a literal whole entire room filled with bad shit, and their child lives there. Like when we were talking,
and their child is so ill prepared to deal with anything paranormal.
God.
Like, you're telling me you're paranormal hunters and you haven't taught your child like what to do in case of a paranormal haunting?
Oh my God.
Okay, also that museum was real, but after it was in their home, and then after Lorraine died in 2019, they shut it down.
What?
Yeah, because
Wasn't
it wasn't like
there?
it was considered a museum, but it's in a residential area, but she lived there, so it was just like people coming to visit. But after she died, they shut it down. There's like no trespassing signs on it now and all that kind of stuff. Like, because apparently people were looking for the house and like knocking on the neighbor's door at all times of the night, and like very creepy. So I'm very upset that we can't do a big spooky field trip to Connecticut.
This also unlocked a memory for me. Didn't people think briefly in 2020 that like the real Annabelle doll went missing?
Oh yeah, that was a meme. My friend from work, Tim, shout out Tim, love you. He went to that museum when it was still open, and so every now and again he just sends me the picture that he took of Annabelle all the time and says she's gonna get you, because I saw Annabelle creation with him. And he also texted me when she went missing and again was like, she's coming for you now, Monica. But then I was like, it's a lie, okay? Fact check yourself before you threaten me, sir. But it was hilarious, so good for him.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Good time for you, maybe. I don't want to deal. I don't know the degree to which I engage with the true spookiness in real life, but I don't want to find out that I am ever wrong. You know what I mean? So like, no, Annabelle, for me, thank you so much. Just a polite no, thank you.
I don't fuck around with spirit shit. I've never done a Ouija. How do you say it? Is it Ouija or Ouija? I don't say it out loud.
Ouija.
I never do a Ouija board.
I did the Ouija board over Thanksgiving. Me and my childhood best friend homemade one.
You
Yeah, I'm never
homemade
doing one.
one.
I don't want. What if I?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, well that makes me feel like it would work less well, so that's fine then, I guess. But like I don't know. I just don't want to like open up the door, especially where I live right now. This is like the
Uh-huh.
first building that was created in this area, but like I'm in LA, so LA is like 100 years old. So it's not that old. But
I mean,
like
I
I
feel like
have
you've
that
mentioned it
spooky
on the pod
basement.
before.
Yeah, I have a
Didn't
spooky
it have like a
basement.
ventriloquist dummy in it?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. That there's a giant Tupperware filled with like Avenue Q style puppets that no one knows how they got there. So it's a fresh ghost or something. But either way, I'm not trying to open that door. Like I said, once you open the door, you can't close it. So no, thank you.
I feel like this is the first Annabelle movie, honestly. There was so much more Annabelle in it than I anticipated. But I think
I
it was like a
forgot how much
good,
Annabelle was in this
yeah.
movie.
I thought it was a good introduction to the larger Warren universe because IMDb trivia says at the end of the movie when they get the phone call and they're like, the priest has a case he'd like us to check out on Long Island. Apparently that is the Amityville horror case, which I did not know
Oh,
was like Conjuring adjacent at all. I did not know that was had anything to do with the Warrens. So clearly
The
there's like a
Warrens were
lot of
the ones
material
that
here.
investigated it.
oh my
Honestly,
god. Have you seen any of the Amityville horror movies?
no, and I just have some association with Jaws, and I don't know if that's because the beach town in Jaws sounds at all like what's the beach town in Jaws called? Are they like nearby each other
It's
on the
No
something
Universal
like
Studios lot tour? Maybe is that where it
That's
comes
probably
from?
it.
Beach
I
tour
don't know. I have
in
no idea.
town in Jaws.
We
I'm
have to cover the
googling
Amityville horror at one point, and I want to do the OG one too, because
Amity
isn't our
Island
oh
is
okay, there
Jaws.
you go. It's the same name, but
yeah, we can't
Yeah,
do the Ryan
the town
Reynolds
of
remake
Amity.
one.
Okay, so that's they have
the
nothing to do with
OG
each
one.
other. Got it.
We have to do the OG one though, because our girl Barb from Black Christmas is the star of that one, the actress
Aw,
that plays Barb, right? Yeah, she's and you know I'm in
Yes,
love
we
with her
love
'cause she's
her.
my wife. But also
amazing.
the Ryan Reynolds one. I was at a bar back when there were bars, and it was playing without sound on the screen. And I instead of talking to my friends, I just watched it without sound the entire time, and I still screamed 3 times. There was no sound. I was just reading the subtitles, still screamed 3 times. So it was pretty good. And Ryan Reynolds is hot.
Ryan Reynolds is always hot. Okay, one thing about this movie that just like really kind of annoyed me was there is so many things in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like
No.
No. So many
there's
like
Annabelle, there's this family, they're
Oh.
in another demonic we get flashbacks of them in a demonic possession.
There's
There's like
Maurice. He's got a lot going on.
right like we have um the whole Judy subplot. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just seems it's very busy
It's
and there's a lot of
crowded.
things and it's like
Yeah.
yes, and I'm just like I would much rather have spent more time with the family and them being haunted than this
totally.
whole large like jump around.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
Sydney, that the pacing was weird for you. And I totally agree. I think maybe they were trying to have us go back and forth to like learn about the Warrens' past, like one to set them up, but two maybe to give the audience like a breather. But like honestly, I don't want a freaking breather. I want my pants scared off of me. And I feel like the momentum was so good within the house with where all the spooky stuff was happening, and then they took us out like a few too many times, and when we came back like it didn't pack the same punch for me as it did at the beginning.
I think the Annabelle stuff was what was crowding it because and I don't know if the Annabelle stuff was like very famous before the Annabelle movies. I kind of think yes, but I could be wrong. But I think it overshadowed the haunting on the farmhouse a little bit. You know what I mean? And I see how it was
Totally.
kind of an entry point into the whole conduit, blah, blah, blah. But I also think for me that like confused the mythology and the lore more than necessary. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if the intention when they made this movie is if they were like thinking this could open the door to a larger cinematic universe, or if they were just like, this is one movie, which is why we have to squeeze everything in because we don't know that there will be more movies. Um, but I think between all of the Annabelle stuff, not that I didn't love the Annabelle beginning, but between the Annabelle stuff and this farmhouse and Maurice and Judy and Annabelle, it was like I saw how they tied it all together. I think it would make sense for like a full season of TV. It's a lot for one movie.
I totally agree. I totally am with you on that.
But I think now that I've said that, a TV would be great. A TV show, like where they really have
Oh,
okay,
TV show would
not
be
to
so
be MCU once again, but because we're talking cinematic universes, what they're doing with WandaVision, where they have it like space to grow the story, but within the larger world, I think would work so well with something like this, where it's like you can get those individual little side bits. You can get how it like comes in with Judy at home because you'd have this space over, even if it's just like 8 episodes, you know what I mean? 8 hours as opposed to two
Oh,
hours, which is already, I already felt like this movie was kind of long, but then they're just trying to do so much
totally.
that a lot of things didn't have this space to breathe.
Well, okay. I just want to focus on really quickly the parts of the beginning of this movie that were so good, and just in general, the scares that really got me going. So, do you guys want to like discuss what each of your favorite scares were? Because I feel like there's some really like A star, A plus, incredible spooks that happen throughout this film. Um, and I don't know
So
who wants to
Chelsea's
say
talked
theirs
about the
first.
hands before.
Oh my
Hmm.
god,
Oh
Um,
yeah.
the hide and clap is
the
absolutely
hands in
terrifying.
this movie, the hide and clap is scary, but what is really scary and like what really got me was when she was back in the basement and saw something and she's like locked in and all of a sudden like a hand comes from like right beside her
Yes.
head and
Uh-huh.
claps, and
That was
that's
the one that
when
got me this
I
morning.
I was so stressed. I was like, "Oh no, 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 no. I do not like this." And
That
also like just anything with the creepy like non-bodied hands,
Hmm.
I it made me
For
very
sure.
stressed. I did not
Because
like that.
when we watched it the other night, the hands during the hide and clap game with the mom and April, and then April comes in and she's like, "You were nowhere close." Like those hands scared me. When we saw like the full Bathsheba witch like launching down at Nancy from the top of the wardrobe or whatever, like that did not get me. Because once you, it's like we talked about with the Blair Witch. Like
yeah.
sometimes it's scary when you can't see what's going on. Um,
Mhm.
and so when it's just the hands, it was like very alarming and upsetting to me. And then once I could see the scary lady, she was no longer as scary as whatever I was waiting for. Even though I couldn't have put that into like words or whatever it was for you. Once I like was looking at her, I was just like, all right. And maybe it's because I've seen exorcism films before, so like I know the makeup that they do, and like our friend Rebecca, who we've mentioned,
Yeah, she
did
looked just
fully
like
scary exorcist makeup for Halloween one year. Literally, she was Reagan from The Exorcist, and we
she
got a
looked
nice up
exactly
close look.
like
Yeah,
Rebecca.
it was incredible. She did an amazing job, but so it's like very easy in my brain for me to be like, okay, scary makeup. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't register for me in that same way
Yeah,
that something conceptual like the disembodied hands do. Although I did like when she's downstairs, when the mom is downstairs in the basement and like the ball just comes like lobbed out of nowhere. I didn't gasp, but I did like it.
yeah, that
Yes.
entire series of sequences when the mom like hears maybe a clap in the night or something, or she hears like a giggle and then a clap in the night while she's folding clothes. And
Yes.
that was terrifying. And she comes outside thinking that her girls are, or comes outside of her room thinking that the girls are still up playing the hide and clap game. And then every single framed photo of the family, like 20 photos, falls off the stairs and shatters, and
Mhm.
no one wakes up. And then 5 seconds
Yes.
later, she gets freaking locked in the basement by a spooky ghost and she's screaming. I'm just like,
Tossed down the stairs.
thrown down the stairs. I'm like, what is the point of having 10
And then
trillion
stuff happens
children
to the
if none of
girls,
them can
too.
hear you scream? Like, what is the point? There's literally
Okay.
no point.
I agree. They didn't really get into this in the movie or acknowledge this at all, but in the interview, the real Andrea and Cindy did say that stuff like this happened all of the time at their house, where somebody would be like screaming their little freaking head off in their bedroom, and then the next day they would be like, "Didn't you hear me?" And everybody would be like, "No, I didn't hear anything." And they said it felt like the house, she used the word like bubbling their screams, like it would like put them in a little bubble where nobody could hear them, and that is actually a extremely
That
upsetting
is
concept that I think they could have
That's
fleshed out
actually
more in
really
this movie
scary.
if they'd given themselves the space by cutting the Annabelle plot. I think the Warrens could,
totally. That's
as much
such
as
a terrifying
yeah,
concept.
this film
Oh,
would
I'm
lose like
mad
a
now.
full knife from me if it didn't have Vera Farmiga's blue accordion blouse, you know what I mean? But I think the Warrens could have been used
Yes.
a lot more sparingly also, and maybe this is not the case for everybody, but I'm not a religious person, and so for it to be like so religious also kind of takes me out of it a little. And so I think if we had had those
Yeah.
elements a little more judiciously used, then we could have really had some deeper scares where it's like you're afraid in that moment of like what's gonna happen, you know what I mean? Because otherwise the whole time I'm like, it's a movie.
Yeah.
But when you're forced to
Yeah.
like
Can we
feel like what it would be like to scream and not know if anybody can hear you and not know that someone's gonna come running, like that's terrifying.
That's terrifying.
terrifying?
Oh my god.
Can we talk about the end sequence of this movie? Because I have a lot of mixed feelings about the ending of this movie.
Okay.
So, we see the mom. It's the start of the ending, really, as we see the mom get mouth vomited into
I hate that bit so much. It's not
by
scary to me,
Bathsheba.
it's disgusting.
It's
Yeah,
so gross.
that whole sequence with the wind blowing the sheet onto like the form of the ghost, and then the ghost goes zoop into the mom's room and then just immediately voms in her mouth. Just rude.
Ugh. I just
Rude.
hate it so much. And then Vera Farmiga is like running up the stairs because she saw all of this, and she's like knocking on the door, and she's like trying to be like, "Are you okay? What's going on in there?" And Carolyn is just like, "Everything's fine." She's just like totally deflecting from the fact that a demon just like fed demon blood to her like she's a baby bird.
Yes, so she's now possessed, and basically the Ed and Lorraine and their team have the family go into a motel so that way they can try and work with the house and get just to get them out of the house, even though they know that the demons are gonna follow them, so it doesn't really matter where they go. But we see the dad goes somewhere. I don't know where
They
he
never
goes.
even say. And I didn't know who he
Yeah.
was until suddenly he was at the house and Drew was also there. And then I was like, okay, I guess he was with Drew for some reason.
They're grabbing
but,
food or
um,
something.
This movie is almost 2 hours long, and I feel like there must have just been a lot more left on the cutting room floor that they were like, we can't go over the 2-hour mark. They should have, because they needed to tell the story, I think, a little more fully, but they wanted the Annabelle to be part of this. And I get it, because again, larger 3 more Annabelle movies, you know, and apparently Annabelle Creation is
Get
like
that money,
one
huh?
of the ones. Yeah. But anyway, sorry. What you were saying at the end, vomit, blood,
But so the mom is now full possessed by Bathsheba, and so she takes little baby Joey King and April
Christine.
back to the house. And
Wait,
the
can I
dad
just say that
comes
there's
back.
like one very funny line when the dad pulls up and they're all like, "Mommy left, whatever, blah blah blah," where one of them just says, "Daddy, she smells like rotting meat," and I was like, "What?" They just like
That's
tossed
how
it
Oh
in
my
little
god,
there.
I missed
the
that.
devil in her.
I missed it completely the first time. I missed it again this second time, and then I was like, "Hold up, wait a second! Did someone just say, 'Daddy, she smells like rotting meat'?" I had to rewind, watch it again. Yes, and then he repeats it on the phone, but they just like tossed it in the dialogue so quickly when all three daughters left behind are speaking at once. One of them is just like, "Daddy, she smells like rotting meat. It's gonna stay with me."
But so the dad, obviously calls Ed and Lorraine, and they're like, "You got to get back to the house. Emergency, emergency."
She smells like rotting
And
meat. It's an emergency.
And this is also 3 seconds
emergency!
after spooky Bathsheba has like possessed Annabelle and attacked Judy back at Ed and Lorraine's house. So like Bathsheba gets
Yes.
around is what I'm trying to say. She's speedy.
She's a busy
She
girl.
is mobile.
She knows how to
And-
multitask.
But so she's trying to kill the
April.
Joey King, because we don't know where
Christine, yeah.
April is.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He's trying to
Yes.
kill Christine with a
so-
pair of scissors, and then April is terrified and disappears
April
to
scurries
hide.
away.
Yeah, and so they tie her to a chair. A lot of like weird things happen, and they make Joey King go sit in the car outside, and they just leave her there. They
Which
just
is
leave her there.
terrible
Terrifying. And so they're wrestling with the mom. She's possessed. There's some actual like kind of vaguely spooky stuff. Like you see the witch's face instead of the mom. She's spitting blood. The chair
I
is
thought it was going to be a
levitating.
good thing that she spit the blood back up. I was like, oh, she's getting that blood out as they're condemning her to blah, 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 Christ, whatever.
Different blood. Whole
It
different
wasn't
blood.
enough.
Like
There
not
was more blood.
yeah.
Because the blood comes back around later, and I was like, oh, I guess the blood earlier was just normal blood, not witch blood.
Yeah, normal regular blood. And while they're trying to deal with the demon, Ed has to do the exorcism himself, God forbid.
Even
because,
though he is not ordained.
He's also
Right?
not good at it. He was very distractible this whole process, and I kept just being like, Ed, you gotta keep going. Every time you pause, you are giving Bathsheba time to lock and load.
To recoup. And Drew is his name. He's looking for April. And then he finds April. She's in a weird hiding spot. She's like under the floor in the kitchen, like in a
I
hidey
think
hole.
he went through that hole. So basically, earlier in the film, poor little Cindy gets taken by Rory into a hole in the behind that armoire that she keeps smacking her head against. So they find her, thank God, and then Lorraine goes in there to see what's going on. She finds where the spooky music box with the clown that April's been playing with was hidden for many millennia, and then she fucking falls through the earth down into the cellar and finds this like hole in the cellar that leads to under the house. So that's where April goes. Genius move, April. Go under the house, of course. Mommy and Daddy aren't dealing with something enough already.
Oh my God.
Too many.
Here's the thing. It would be a good idea. It was a good hiding spot until Drew discovered her and then shouted her location. Like, hello, there are demons listening, Drew.
We love
Who's
Drew,
trying
but
to
that was
kill
a
her?
bad move.
And so the mom grabs the scissors again. She's trying to kill April. They're trying to hold her back. And then like Lorraine is just like, remember the light from the beach picture. Remember this beautiful moment. You must fight this. And she's like, oh no, I must fight the witch. And then she vomits all the witch blood out. And then it's
Gross.
over.
And then she goes outside
I'm
and
just
all
like-
of her bruises mysteriously fade away, and they're like, it's done. Like, they're just like, yay! And then they do a puddle.
It's like a little too easy,
I-
it seems. I mean, like, yeah, it was a big battle. Like, Brad the cop gets his face bit, which I was like, good. But, like, honestly, like, I feel like with the half-assed performance by Ed on his exorcism, you know, Lorraine really saved the day just with the touch of her own beautiful manicured hand, you know? The power of that beach day brought her back and killed Bathsheba.
Right? I just like did not like this ending. Just
Yeah.
did not like it at all. It was too neatly wrapped up for me. And I was like,
Especially knowing that that family lived in that house for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, that is crazy. And for them to be like, we're healed. And, like, we don't know if they still live there and everything is fine after that. Or if, like, they got rid of Bathsheba, but there's still spooky maid ghost with her slit wrists walking around. You know what I mean? Like, I have got a lot of unanswered questions, but instead they're all just like, yay. And then they cuddle and they're like, everything's great. And then April's like, here's your locket, Mrs. Lorraine. And then Drew and Brad are like sitting next to each other on the porch being like, we're two men who solved a problem here. But they are boyfriends, and I will get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
but I was like, this family is just like cuddle puddle, like low key nauseating if Drew and Brad don't even get to kiss. Like, if you're gonna go full happy ending, at least happy ending for everybody. And but also there's another cop that randomly shows up at the end. Who's he? Who's this bitch? Anyway.
Maybe Brad called for backup. No, it's just such a disappointing ending because, like, there are some moments in this movie where I was absolutely fucked up. And the ending, I was just like, okay. I was like, oh, she looks scary. They put color contacts in her eyes. Now her eyes look weird. Whoa. Wow, her lips are chapped. Oh, no. Like, I was like, this is not scary to me. Like, compared to, like, the whole scene with Christine and Nancy in their room where you finally realize that, like, the ghost is pulling on Christine, aka Joey King's foot. And she, like, when she looks under the bed and somehow she can see this presence that's behind the door and no one else can, like, that shit was like terrifying, quaking. I was quaking in my boots. And this ending, I was just like falling asleep. I literally was falling asleep. I was very tired this morning.
Yeah, I think this would not be the worst ending. It's not the worst ending.
No.
But I think for me, it's like, okay, yes, the problem is solved. Great, that's what you want in the ending of a haunting movie, I guess. And then the Warrens take the spooky circus toy back to their room of spooky things. Sure. It ends with them being like, oh, we've got to go deal with the Amityville horror, but also this little scary circus hypnotizing mirror is spinning. And you're like, am I supposed to be able to see something here? Like, that's all good and well. What is a step too far is when Caroline steps across the threshold and her bruises literally disappear. Because to me, there's some like implication in there that like the trauma they've suffered in this house has been healed, and that there are not like lasting after effects, and that's just like not true and not the case. And part of the terror is that like the terror will always stay with you even once the problem is gone. And I think the like symbolic implications of that was what was so like viscerally upsetting to me about the end of this movie, that they're like, literally it's as though it has never happened. You know what I mean? Like, that's what the bruises disappearing says to me, and that's what I really don't like.
Yeah, and also like they make a huge point in the movie with Carolyn the mom like hugging April and saying I'm so sorry because she tried to kill her. But like, we also need that moment with Christine, aka Joey King, and Carolyn, because she had Joey King by the scruff of her neck and was about to stab her with a pair of scissors. Did we forget? That was 10 minutes ago. So, like, how do you, like, they're gonna have to do a lot of trust building after mommy goes fucking, like, Bathsheba crazy on them. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Talk about permanent mommy issues.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. They all need a lot of therapy. Like, a lot of therapy.
100%. Okay, well, do we want to get into our regular segments? Because I feel like there's a lot more to discuss, but we can fit it into these beautiful boxes here we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to go through this note by note, I would have a lot to say, but I think my main points are going to be covered here. Would we like to start, since I opened the door to it already,
Yes,
would we like to start with, could this movie be gayer?
100%.
Of course.
That's my favorite
Let's
one.
hear about your boyfriend's canon.
Okay,
Chelsea?
I will say, before I rewatched this movie for the second time, I was already starting to like build my notes. I put in my like IMDb rating and stuff like that, and I saw could it be gayer, and I wrote this movie is aggressively het. And then I rewatch it, and I was like, oh yeah, there's boyfriends here because Drew and Brad are in
100%.
love, and they're like buddy boyfriends, and they do that teasing thing to each other where it's like, oh, you think this is just a draft, like, oh, you thought this was, aren't you scared now? They're fully boyfriends, and I think they are in love, and I think that they were like very cute together, and I also 100% need them to be boyfriends, because if they're not boyfriends, then Drew has a very weird scene with Andrea, who can be no older than 14, where she is flirting with him, and he is maybe a little bit reciprocating. So I need him to be boyfriends with Brad, because otherwise I am not okay with that scene.
100%. Also, just for context, Brad is this cop that they inexplicably have with them just for muscle. Someone
I really thought
has a gun.
Yeah, I
just
really
so
thought they were
it's
gonna have
under the
explained
eyes of the
it,
law.
and I missed it, and they never explain it. They're just like, we've got a cop here.
I can explain it. So in real life, the Warrens would have just like regular people, like polices, nurses, students come and help them investigate their paranormal activity
Okay.
cases.
Okay. So that was canon. All right. And then and so then Drew is just like he is a student in the class that they're teaching, because I see him in the audience of the class that Ed and Lorraine are teaching, but he's also their good homie who sets up all of the cameras and the electronic shit and the recording devices, so he's like the tech guy.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was their assistant and that he was in the class not because he was their student, but because he was there to like help run the projections and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was in the back.
And he's the one. Yeah, he's the one that brings Carolyn over to them to be like, she needs help. So I think he is like, I don't know if they're doing like a visiting lecture or whatever, but I think of him as like their TA basically.
Yeah, I feel that. He's their sexy TA, because there's gotta be, for every class, there must be a sexy TA, or else what's the point, you know?
What's the point? Yeah.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, I mean, there was just palpable chemistry between Drew and Brad, and it was the only thing that made Brad's presence even slightly acceptable to me. So thank God for that.
There's also a moment, okay, I'm just like looking through my Drew and Brad notes to see what's going on. Right at the introduction of Officer Brad Hamilton, I said he gets a ribbing from Drew, and then the next note is Drew and Brad are gay together. And then I have Drew is cool as hell. I love Drew. And then that's where, okay, I wrote Andrea is flirting with Drew because she was like, yeah, it's groovy. And I said, Drew, she's a baby. Get away. Go back to Brad. And then later on, I have the sexual tension between Brad and Drew. So clearly, I was like, we need this. There's a moment where Brad offers to get coffee for Drew. It's romantic. You know what I mean? Like,
it is romantic.
This movie is very into the married couples, and I think that they a little bit didn't see what they had right in front of them with Brad and Drew, but I think there's something there for sure, for sure, for sure.
I want less Annabelle subplot and more Brad and Drew subplot.
Yes, Brad and Drew being
Agreed. I
boyfriends
want a
because
scene at the end
mhm.
of Drew dressing Brad's facial wound and like being like, "Oh, are you okay?" and putting alcohol on it, and then they lean in for a
Yes.
kiss.
Yes. Okay, because in the end, it's like the family's in the cuddle puddle, and then Ed and Lorraine are like kind of cozied up, standing on the porch, and then Brad and Drew are sitting together on the steps of the porch. I was like, okay, so we've got the family, a couple, and a couple. They're in love. Status confirmed.
100%.
To me, confirmed.
100%. It writes itself. This isn't us being creative. It's written in the text.
It's in the text. It is part of this
It's in the book.
movie. You can't tell me shit.
No.
It's literally
But-
right in front of your face. Open your eyes. Watch this movie.
Mhm.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think there's anything else in this movie that could or needed to be gay. I feel like that's it for that one, don't you think?
I agree. I mean,
Yes.
the other part of this movie that was gay was me for Vera Farmiga, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that was like that's like different. It's
Yeah,
hot.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's something that will happen after the fact and not in the context of the film. So
Mhm.
just a little side note. But yeah, okay. So I feel like that covers the gayness of this film. But where would Matty Lily go if you could put him in here? I'm sorry that I call him that
I could-
sometimes, but I do like it.
I hope he likes it when he gets around to getting caught up. I don't think he's listened yet. I'm still waiting for Martin Short to give him a call, I guess. But I think
Yeah, he's been
I hope when
having
he hears Matty
cell service
Lily.
He just can't get that dang phone to work, and I'm like, call AT&T,
Okay, I think I really liked what's his name? Is his real name Ron Livingstone as Roger? I liked him in that role, and I liked Patrick Wilson as Ed. So I don't think I would want Mr. Matty Lily to be either of those roles necessarily, but I could
I'm
see
sorry
him
to interject, but really quickly, the entire time you guys have been talking about Roger, I did not realize that was the name of the dad, and I was really confused, so I just wasn't saying anything.
Honestly, I did not know the parents' names for most of this movie. I knew everybody else's name, just not theirs, until it was like at the end with the climax and they started being like, Caroline, come back to me, and be like, Roger, you have to say something to her. That was when I was like, okay, Roger, Caroline, got it.
I'm also confused because did you guys not mention someone named Maurice at some point during this podcast? And I'm like,
did.
no idea what you're talking about. Who is that?
Maurice is the guy who they did the spooky exorcism on, where it was like he had priest issues as a
Bleeding
child
from his
and with his
eyes.
father, and then there's a line where they're like, he didn't have much to live for, and then he killed himself, and it's like, okay, sad.
Yeah. Okay. I blocked that part out. That's Maurice. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, absolutely no idea. But anyway, we're on target here, and I would say that Matthew Lillard would make a great Maurice.
Actually, I just thought that. I was like, as if she's not saying this right now, I will say it after her. That would be a great spot for Matty Lily to come in, where it's like not a distracting role, doesn't take away from one of the actors that we see and like where they are, but is a little fun, a little flavor. You know what I mean? I think that would be a great spot for him to pop in. Yeah. A little depressing, super unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
I have two spots where I think he could be in this movie that is not Maurice.
Okay.
I think he could have been Officer Brad because one, I would have loved to have seen him rock that little mustache.
That's what I was saying before, and then we got distracted. But I also think he could be good as the cop.
But my other one is I think he could be the reporter at the very, very end where he's like they're walking through the occult museum
You mean the
with Ed
beginning?
Warren. No, at the end.
At the end?
Yes. Remember when the last shot we see is is Ed Warren putting the music box into the museum and he's walking around with a reporter.
That's at the beginning.
Isn't that at the end?
No, it's for sure at the beginning.
He does
No.
go back into that room at the end and puts the thing down, but he's with that dude at the beginning. The dude who tries to touch the monkey.
Is
The
that not at
monkey-
the end?
No, that's the beginning,
That's
because
the
that's
beginning.
when we discovered Judy hiding in the room, and we see Annabelle in her box. At the end, he goes and he puts the spooky circus toy away, and then he like lingers in the doorway to be like, we got a phone call. The Vatican approved the exorcism. Anyway, we've got to go to Long Island now.
Wow. I literally watched this movie this morning again. Wow. The pacing of this
It's
movie is
okay.
just
That's
all
completely
off. I
switched.
don't know.
It's not your fault.
But that said, I agree. Maddie Lily would make a great reporter, a little surprise reporter, 100%. But
Well, at the
for
beginning
me,
now, I like it
Ooh,
even more.
Wait,
I-
Matthew Lillard could be the priest.
Oh.
Could you see Matthew Lillard in a little priest
I could see
collar?
him as a priest.
I'd like
No,
it.
because I would
I
be
would
I would be too turned on
But
by a
here's the
priest.
thing.
I don't know how I
We've
feel
seen
about
Fleabag
that.
season
It is
2,
true.
and we know that that is totally in our wheelhouse now, unfortunately. So that's fine.
Don't bring up my trigger. Fleabag season 2. Oh my god. But okay, I think that the perfect place for Maddie Lily to be, and one that he would have super fun with, and I would have to do time machine shit. So it'd have to be young, sexy, Scream 1 era Maddie Lily. But I think he would be a great Drew. He would be perfect as Drew. He loves he would love the occult. He would know how to set everything up. I just think that he would be very cute, and he could have made Drew even more fun than that wonderful actor who played him did. That's just me.
I don't know. I like Drew as is. I think Drew has like a very sweet energy that Matthew Lillard. I have, not to say he can't do it because he has the range. But I haven't seen it from him, and so I'm having trouble picturing, because like the way that he is Shaggy is very different from like the competent, knows what he's doing, but like nice guy energy that Drew
13
has in this
Ghosts,
role.
Matthew.
No. Do not bring 13 Ghosts into this, because that is the most terrifying Matthew I've ever seen in my
I
life.
said that just to provoke you.
Just to make me upset.
Yep,
No.
that worked.
Absolutely not.
All right,
I
well,
really
we're not
liked
in this
Drew.
unison here. I love the guy who played Drew too. So
Yes.
cute. I have a crush on him.
Once you said Maurice, I was like, Maurice would be so fucking perfect for a Maddie Lily cameo. And once I said the priest, I was like, now I've given myself ideas. Wow.
I haven't
love
thought about
that
the
for
sexy
you.
priest in Fleabag in a while, and now
And now you're
it's
gonna think
back.
about it all day. You're welcome.
All day.
Okay.
Please.
But we've got one more segment to do, and that is our Dumb Bitch Award. I told you guys before we started recording that I have like a very strong idea of who I'm going to nominate, so I don't want to overpower you guys. So if you've got Dumb Bitch Award nominations, now's the time.
I feel lost.
So
for
I don't
this
know if
one,
I have
so
a...
go.
Yeah, I don't really have one either, but I would just like to point out that normally in these haunted cases, my dumb bitch award would go to the dad, right?
Mhm.
Because they normally do not give a shit. But Roger is so good in this. Like, even though he says, like, I don't know if I believe what's going on, like, my wife and my 5 girls clearly know something's, like, wrong, so I am full on board with this. And so I love that. Good for Roger. But like, I don't have a standout. Oh no, I take that back. I do have one that I just thought of. The grandmother.
Oh, Nana. Tell us why Nana.
Nana. Okay, so Nana is Lorraine's mom, I believe.
Yeah.
And so and maybe it's the whole bubble thing that we were discussing earlier, but Judy is like losing her shit in this house. She's making so much noise. She's literally calling out for Nana, and Nana does not move, doesn't do anything to help Nana. And maybe it's the whole like weird bubble effect that Bathsheba has done, but I'm not chill with Nana.
That I think is a totally fair recommendation. Nana is definitely not on top of her babysitting game. I would like to give an honorary mention to, which one is Joey King? Christine?
Christine.
Yeah, okay. I don't really think the family did anything in particular to bring it on themselves. I'd like to say that, so that's why this is only an honorary mention. I don't think it's April's fault that she found a cool toy and she played with it and made a ghost friend named Rory. You know, I don't think that
A
it is
tiny pilgrim boy. Who
a
could
tiny
blame
pilgrim boy.
her?
He's so cute. And who could blame the mom for teaching the ghosts to play hide and clap? Although, again, not ideal, because now the ghosts know how to play hide and clap and they clearly were vibing with that game. Um, but I do need to give a small honorary dumb bitch mention to Christine, because it's like, okay, you guys keep complaining about how cold the house is. You keep complaining about somebody pulling on your feet while you sleep, and yet you keep sleeping with your feet outside of the covers. Not those feet under the covers, baby. Like, come on. You cannot be like, someone's tugging my feet. It is freezing in here. And then sleep on top of the covers. Get those tootsies under the blanket.
Oh my god, Chelsea, you win.
That's not my real dumb bitch. That's just an honorary mention, though. Here's my real dumb bitch award nomination, and it goes to I think her name is like Debbie, Camilla, and Debbie from the beginning with the Annabelle doll. Those are the true dumb bitch.
yes. Okay.
Because I wrote this down, it made me so
100%.
mad. Yeah, Debbie, I think her name is, or like Donna or something. I don't care. She says, Camilla got in touch with a medium. We learned from her that a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins had died in this apartment. She was lonely and took a liking to my doll. All she wanted was to be friends. And then Camilla says, when we heard this, we felt really sorry for her. I mean, we're nurses. We help people. So we gave her permission to move into the doll. First of all, what the fuck are you doing? Second of all, even if this wasn't a demon, which it was not the ghost of a 7-year-old girl. It's like, even if it was just the ghost of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins that they invited to move into the doll, it's like, okay, you know this ghost is playing with you. She's in the doll now. You're a nurse. You should have some mental health training. You didn't think there would be any responsibilities that came along with allowing a 7-year-old girl who's been presumably neglected for years and years and years because she's a ghost and not everybody can see her. You didn't think there was going to be any emotional responsibilities that came with letting little 7-year-old Annabelle Higgins into your life. It's like, of course you leave. She's a ghost. She's been ignored for so long. Of course you leave. She's going to be like, did you miss me? I'm going to destroy your shit. I'm acting out because I'm a 7-year-old who's been through neglect and trauma. Like, you're telling me they are professionals in the healthcare industry and they did not consider for 1 second the ramifications of agreeing to take on caregiver roles for this 7-year-old ghost. I just think through your actions. It's rude. It's not responsible. HIPAA, do no harm or whatever. They did a bad job. They did harm. And it was a demon and they invited it to live in their home. So it's just like, how dumb can you get? How dumb can you get?
Seriously. It's just like, and it's like, okay, I get that you guys like help people and you're nurses and you're very good at that part of your job, but like, what makes you think that you know anything about a freaking ghost? Like, help her cross over. Don't let her live here in this liminal fucking purgatory in a doll. That's not fun. No.
It's just like, you have a 7-year-old ghost in your home and then you're like, let's give it a physical vessel, but also leave it home alone all day long. Like, that is like, if I worked for child services, I would take that ghost child out of your home because you're doing a bad job.
Tell him. Wow, you've convinced me 100%. I didn't have a strong feeling either way, but like, my eyes have been open to the world, and fuck you, Debbie. Fuck you, Camilla. Or Camila, however you pronounce your name. No. Big no.
Just irresponsible.
I don't know. I still like Joey King sleeping with her feet outside of the covers in Haunted House.
I mean, I think it is asking for trouble, but she's the baby. These nurses were grown women. They should have known better. But she
Agreed.
does. Nancy does get, or Christine does get her little honorable mention. I had to give it to her. So
No, I mean,
I mean,
I'm
I'm
sure
clearly
she never is
outvoted
gonna sleep
2
like
to
that
3.
ever
So
again.
she did it so many times. Oh my god. It's just like, you don't get to complain about how cold it is and then sleep on top of the covers. Like, what are you doing? But whatever, that's not my business, especially because I like to sleep with a foot out sometimes. That I don't think that means I want a demon to tug on it, but I will say, if a demon was tugging on it, you can bet I would tuck that foot away.
Okay, so we're almost all in agreement. Either way, we got 2 dumb bitches, certified dumb bitches, and 1 fledgling dumb bitch who needs to curb her ways now. Otherwise, she'll become a full-fledged one in just a few years. So, word to the wise, Christine. But now it's time for our knives out of 5s. And I'm interested to see what you guys rate this one, because I'm kind of on the fence.
I will say this movie is very well regarded by critics. It has a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has 86% fresh from critics and 83% fresh from audiences, which is like super good. And as we all know, these are some of the highest awards you can get. So I will mention that it was nominated for Favorite Horror Movie at the People's Choice Awards, and our wife, Vera Farmiga, was nominated for Best Scared as Shit Performance at the MTV Movie Awards. And then it did win some other like legit awards, but I didn't put them in my notes because we all know it's about the MTV
who
Movie
cares
Awards.
about those?
Yeah.
Those are
But so, critically speaking, it did really well, and it also was an R-rated movie, not because there's like cursing or nudity or even that much blood, although if you ask me, any amount of vomited witch blood is too much. But it got an R rating simply because it's like scary as shit. And they were like, you could not make any. They wanted it to be a PG-13 movie because then more people can see it, obviously. But they basically were just like, to get a PG-13, you would have to radically change the tone of this movie. It's just too scary. And so they kept the R rating. So that's some context laid here for you guys. Do you think your Knives out of 5s lives up to 7.5 out of 10, 86% fresh, 83% fresh? Where do you fall in regards to that?
Mine's a 3 out of 5 because the first
Okay.
30 minutes scary, but once the pacing gets interrupted, like once that scare, like it's like when you're on a roller coaster and you do that big drop and you just like never get that high again. It never fully
Yeah.
reached, it never built the tension back up from all the lag, and I fucking hated the ending. And so
Totally.
it gets 3
Yeah,
knives
no, I totally agree
because
with you.
the scary parts are really scary, but then the second half of the movie just falls off for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally with you on that. I'm definitely not on the same level as the critics in the IMDb rating. I feel like this got that R-rated, cause it's so freaking terrifying rating, on 2013 standards, which of course it would, because it was 2013 at the time, and that was reality then. But I've seen the horror films that have come out since then, like shit like Hereditary, like
Annabelle Creation,
which has a similar type of energy. But like the horror, like yeah, this was really, really scary, and I was flipping the fuck out for the first like 30-40 minutes until we saw the face of Bathsheba, and I was like, LOL. But like I just really don't think it was scary enough to warrant that by today's standards. And like I had a really good time for the beginning part, and even this morning when I was rewatching it, I was like, like all amped up at the beginning, and then I fell asleep while watching it during the second part. And so for me, like there's just too many pacing issues, and they do too much world building, like unnecessary world building that I know is 100% geared towards starting the Annabelle franchise, which I don't blame them, because if we get Annabelle Creation, and so I will take a hit in order to get Annabelle Creation. But for me, I'm gonna give it like a 2.99999 repeating because like I don't know, just compared to most of the movies that we've watched so far on the pod, this one doesn't measure up to me. But Vera, you are always in my heart and call me.
Yeah, I mean, I will live with Vera Farmiga and that blue blouse in my brain for the rest of my life, probably. And like I said in the beginning, the moment where she touches Caroline's head and Caroline is like bathed in light, like I would also like to have that experience with Vera Farmiga.
I love that for
Um,
you.
to me, I think I don't want to dip below 3 because again, the beginning of the movie is very scary and I want to honor that. Um and as someone who tends to be generous with their ratings, to give it a 2 something feels as if to say that I thought it was a bad movie, and I don't know that I did think that. But I also can go no higher than a 3 because it didn't earn that from me. There's a lot of good
Gotta
stuff
do the
here.
work, okay?
Yeah. I think, again, if this had been a full season of a TV show, it could have been incredible and it could have had the space for everything to hit effectively. But without that, I think like we've been saying, it was just too crowded. And so things lost their effect. The first time I watched it, it fully lost the spookiness after a point. I watched it this morning and the overall vibe was like better once I knew what I was getting into. But again, just a little too hopeful of an ending, I think. And that kind of like
Too
breaks
much
the
joy.
spooky as well. Yeah, where they're just like, and everything was great forever and ever. Like, I don't need that, and I don't want that, especially when it'd be one thing if like the Perone family was set up as the main characters, but they gave equal weight to the Warrens, you know what I mean? And if you're gonna give me two paranormal like demonology hunters as two of the main figures, I need a little more spooky, ominous ending to tell of the spooky to come. And I think they hinted at it, but they didn't fully deliver on it with this ending. So I will also be giving it 3 knives out of 5s.
We're all on the same page here, pretty much. I'm glad. It's wonderful to be in agreement. So in sync.
I love that for us.
Beautiful.
Okay, so what are we doing next week?
Okay, next week we are doing Valentine. Well, this was my idea that I brought to our OG Spooky crew. We watched it, I don't remember when, maybe over the summer. But this I talked on the House of Wax episode about how there are like 2 scary movie moments that I watched like in the middle of the night on TV by myself, probably when I was not supposed to be watching TV, that stayed with me. One of them was when Alicia Cuthbert gets the tip of her finger cut off in House of Wax, and then another one was from Valentine. And it was like one of those things where I was channel flipping in the middle of the night and I stumbled across this movie and I didn't know what it was for a long time, and I had to like Google it once I was a grown adult and try to like backtrack to find out what this movie was. So I was so excited to share it with you guys when we watched it with our OG Spooky crew, and I'm so excited to get to talk about it and think through it a little more this time instead of just like rewatching it for the first time in forever. But also, we've got Valentine's Day on the calendar, so we wanted to do something so like romantic and sweet. So we picked this
So
movie.
romantic.
So romantic, where I think if I am recalling correctly, it's got like a scary Cupid face mask in it, and they're getting like scary, spooky Valentines in the mail. And that's the best summary that I have to offer in this moment. Does anyone have a better one?
And it has David Boreanaz. Is that how you say it? Boreanza?
Boreanaz?
Boreanaz? How to say there, Boreanaz. There we go. Thank you. AKA Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so I have been watching Buffy like all the time. So that's the main reason I'm excited, because I didn't give a shit about David Boreanaz before I watched this the first time. But now I give several shits. Also, I don't
He's
remember
also very
a
sexy in
single
Bones.
thing that happens in this movie. So I'm very excited to rewatch it, maybe almost for the first time.
Yeah, I honestly don't know that you finished with us, Monica. I think you might have bailed halfway through, potentially.
I might have fallen asleep. Or been overwhelmed and had to expire. So we will see what happens the second time around. So that pretty much
Yeah, I
wraps us
think
up for this week. But I just want to say before we close, want to give a huge shout out to the cast and director of Get Duked for all of the love that they gave us this week. You guys are amazing. Nini and Doff, you are amazing. Thank you. Shout out to the Edinburgh Film Festival for retweeting us. I cry every day thinking of that moment. Happy tears. But yeah, it's been super, super cool, and we will continue to spread the good word about the greatest film to come out in quite some time. So thank you again. And so if you liked what you heard, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We're getting quite a few reviews, and we really appreciate it. Also, follow along with all of our incredible original meme content created by Chelsea Duff herself at spooky_Tuesday on Twitter and Instagram, and Spooky Tuesday Pod on Facebook. Thanks for listening.
Bye, spookies.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.
And it doesn't matter where you go, this dark entity has latched itself to your family, and it's feeding off you. Even if we leave?
Sometimes when you get haunted, it's like stepping on gum. You take it with you.